Oh, suki now. Oh, yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't yet, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be, because I'm Swede and I'm going to help you get busy living. I'm telling you, I'm going to help you get busy living. That's the mission. We are going to do one epic adventure every single month for the next 55 months. Actually, it's not the next 55 because we already got 7 down. So we got 48 to go. Can I get a hell yeah? But first, tonight it's about how we handle change. Do we take the fight or we take the flight? Allow me, though, before we get down to that business, to welcome to the stage my co-host out of Los Angeles. I was considering saying Glendale or something. My girl, the dazzling D-Rex.
Oh boy, here we are again.
I'm getting better at the trumpet.
And I'm getting better with these buttons. They're responding in the way that they should be. And hello to anyone who is here. Please say hi in the comment section. We're so happy to have you. We always are. Here we are on Thursday evening once again. We never stop.
Never, ever. Hey, you know, we talk enough just between the two of us, but when there's others, they're about to jump in at any moment with their insight. That's what makes it so much fun. It's like sparring, you know, like it's not like it's like live performance when you have somebody else in the audience that can chime in at any minute. That makes it different. You know what I mean? You got to be more on your toes.
Yeah, I really loved that last week where everybody was kind of putting their own little story in the comments and we were talking about that. So I want people to feel free to continue to do that, because that was more like, it's like surfing, right? It's like you go in this way, oh, here comes another wave. You go that way. I like that. And I always like when people join us here. And we have a really important topic today that is, it's really interesting to me because, I mean, several times in my life, I've created a fresh start for myself. And sometimes it involved me doing something as crazy as moving across the country. And sometimes it involves something, and I wouldn't say it's like super minor, but something as small as doing the 100-mile challenge, Chet's 100-mile challenge, you know? And they all are great to go through. So I'm a big fan of the fresh start. You know, that's really what we're talking about today, is like when you need a fresh start in your life, what do you do? How big does it have to be?
What constitutes a fresh start, D-Rex?
Okay, well, don't give me a second to think about it or anything. But I mean, to me, it's like things are either bad or even just dull, and you need a redo in certain areas. Sometimes it's just you're feeling stuck in your life. And sometimes things are just going so bad that you just want to cut everything loose and go do something else. You want to abandon everything. You know, it could be, it's like such a wide scale, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I can think of many times in my life where I've felt that way, where I wanted to abandon everything.
Yeah. And you know what? And sometimes I feel that way even when it's just time for taxes. I feel like bolting. I feel like leaving and never being found, living in the forest. Hi, Lori. Lori's here. You know,
hey, girl. Hey.
Speaking of Lori, I know that we have a very important person we want to talk about before we really get into the meat of this subject. So why don't we do that?
Yeah. So look, for those of you that have been here, thanks for coming back. And for those of you that are new here, know that this podcast is brought to you by the Help Swede Walk Again organization. And that's a nonprofit whose mission is to perpetuate stem cells in the economy, on all fronts. That involves the politics, that involves the public eye, and that involves in the people's living rooms. So what we want to do with this podcast is help you understand why they're important, what they're good for, and why we're such advocates of them. But if you keep on tuning in, we are building the process of being able to invite guests on that are experts in the field. We're making connections on a regular basis. We're all getting this started and brand new, so we're accepting, we're extending invitations for anybody that wants to put their hand in the pile and be a part of the team. So all you got to do is hit up this email. Let us know, that you're interested in helping. And the beauty of this is the big picture is just amplifying the help. That really is the whole concept that we hope to be able to put to play here to make it work. Because I'm a product of human kindness, 125,000%, having my life saved by a fundraising campaign. And my energy is in this project to try to give back. I made a promise that if you guys saved my life, that I would throw you a huge, huge party. We're going to do that. And since you've saved my life, I feel I need to pay that forward and help others the way that I've been helped. We're going to do that. And in order to give you a reason, an incentive, aside from being generous and helping others, that you will be able to benefit, is we want to turn portions of our revenues back towards the audience of the Get Busy Living podcast and help you guys get busy living with us. So what we want to do in order to keep you interested, once a month for the next 48 months, that's a 55-month long streak, we're going to go on one epic adventure once a month just to remind you to make your life, give yourself something in life to look forward to. And that's what today's show is about. It's about when it's time to change because you don't have anything to look forward to. What do you do? Before we get into that, the Help Swede Walk Again has identified someone, and we've had nominations at the hswa.org if you know somebody that could use our help. But we've had a guy nominated named Schaefer, and Schaefer is, man, the heart of this kid. When you're in the room with him and you feel his energy, I mean, it's unbelievable. And just when you see his face smile, I wish that so we're going to show you some new footage of him, but it doesn't capture the energy you feel when you make eye contact with this guy, man.
I think that.
Put your foot down, please. Put your foot down. Put your foot down.
So describe what we're seeing here in this video.
Are you going to stop?
Well, the details that I have are just the video itself, other than knowing that they are a nonstop, relentless pursuit of his recovery. And that's what we want to capture and we want to help is people that are pursuing help. I'm going to show these again as I talk, just because I love it. I love seeing him keep on working. But the people that are in pursuit of helping, if you're sitting around and you're fine with sitting around, then you don't need our help. But if you want help and you want to get busy living in some way, shape, or form, that's what we're here for. We're just using this podcast platform as a way to amplify that message, And this guy right here, we hope that via access to stem cells, that we'll be able to get him, those stem cells because they.
That was me turning. Yes, because I wanted to hear what you were saying.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. So by administering stem cells to this guy, it's possible that we can drastically improve his life. It's highly likely that we will improve his life no matter how you view it, because the hope that comes with that is substantial in itself. And so, Lori, if you want to check in with us in the comments and let us know.
Yeah, she says this is his weekly therapy and his birthday scooter practice for the summer fun he plans on having.
See,
and doesn't every kid deserve that? Riding a scooter in the summer, and we do believe that if we can raise, and we do believe that when we raise the money for his stem cell therapy, that it will benefit him in helping him ride his scooter in the summer. Something as simple as that, and something as extremely as important as being able to keep up with his peers, with walking and stairs and all sorts of things, all sorts of accessibility issues. And boy, do we know about accessibility issues, huh, Swede?
Yeah, and so does the other people in the comments. I want to say again, hello to Laura. We got nothing but love for you, girl, and we're glad you're here. And all the information you want to share with us, you're welcome to put it up there, and we will forward it on. Scooty Wells is in the house. What's up, Dawg? And by the way, the Stein brothers know about disability issues as well. So hopefully that they understand the gravity of what we're trying to accomplish here as far as raising money to try to make stem cells more accessible for the public. And that's ultimately the major mission of the Help Swede Walk Again. Revenues are going to be distributed throughout different, the three different pots, if you will, as far as the audience's share and the nominees share, and then the huge party share. So the idea is to collectively generate a community's worth of efforts towards the bigger picture here, which this is major impact potential here, guys. Stem cells have the ability and the potential to be as significant to mankind as fire was at one point. It is the way that my nonprofit consultant put it to me. So I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty significant to me. So yes, we're barking up a big tree here, but man, the climb is going to be worth it. So if you guys want to, if you want to be a part of that, you can feel free to go to the hswa.org. And that's that. If you go there, this is what you're going to find is you can hit the Help Swede Walk Again button here, and that's going to take you to the opportunity to give donations, either single small donations, single large donations, or recurring donations. And if you scroll here, you'll get a little bit of the story. You'll be able to, that's to join the party list. And that's, the recurring donations is kind of like a party guest list tracker. You can follow the podcast from there as well. But here's another way to get involved is by reserving your copy of the Life and Year of Swedism's book. And so what happened here is a while back when we were my team, the Help Swede Walk Again team, the people that saved my life and the family that I owe it all to, we're talking about a way to give back to those that had helped me get to where my life was saved. And so I wanted to give something in exchange, but at that point in time when we were brainstorming, I couldn't barely lift my arms, let alone, try to do, anything that was really truly productive. So the idea was to come up with a list of a collection, if you will, of the things that I posted in the past that people seem to become a fan of over the times. So that's what this book is. It's a collection. It's a representation of the mindset that we have here at the Get Busy Living Project, I like to think. And we're just trying to help everybody live a more purposeful, fulfilled life. You're going to get a lot of comedy in there. You'll get a lot of real talk. And you're going to get a lot of poetry, I guess you could say. And it was my real life post. So it's the life of a year. Or the life in a year of Swedism's book is my life summarized in a year. So by donating $25 or more, you reserve a copy of this book and you put yourself in the raffle, which the winner gets to go on an adventurous Alaska tour, which if you want information or you want to see some photos of that, we have them on past episodes. You can check our other episodes at our Get Busy Living YouTube channel. Just go under the live tab and you'll be able to see past episodes. But in the meantime, chip in, get yourself a book. All the money we generate is going to go towards getting you to the adventures, getting you to Alaska, getting stem cells in the living rooms of America, and helping everybody get busy living with us. That was a mouthful. You would think I had it all written down or something.
There's a lot to go over all the time. And I think that some of us could use a little refresher every once in a while that, yes, there is this book. And yes, we would love you to donate. And yes, we are going to help Schaefer. And yes, you're applying for more grants. And yes, you are finishing up school and diving headfirst into this nonprofit. And there's just so much all the time. There's so much to say all the time,
And I hope to streamline it so those of you that have heard it before don't get bored. But I hope that eventually, just like when you're watching your favorite show and you see the commercials over and over and over, we know that being repetitive is helpful. So I hope that not only does it start to sink in, but guess what? You'll repeat it too. So, hey, what up? Smiles is in the house. D-Rex, remember my man Smiles?
Oh, of course. You can't forget a guy like that.
And Caro is in the house. She'll be showing up here really soon. I can't wait for Caro to show up and her little homie Nacho, who is obviously a very important part of that puzzle. But seriously, D-Rex, we do have a mission at the Get Busy Living Project to help people understand that it's a mindset that's required to have a purposeful, intentional, deliberate life. You have to be aware of yourself and you have to be aware of what you want and aware of a way to get it. And then you have to be willing to execute the plan. Now, how does this podcast help you execute the plan? Well, maybe if you come hang out with us once a month, you'll get an idea of what our mindset's like by being around us live and in person. But until then, continue to hang out with us once a week here and you'll get an idea. You want to talk about how this topic spawned when it comes to getting busy living, and whether or not you actually are the average of the 5 people you hang around most. That's
okay. So yeah, that's kind of what this conversation was built around. Something that you may or may not have heard in your lifetime, not you, but anybody who's listening, is that you become the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. And, if you feel that's true or not true, please put that in the comments because I'd really like to see what you guys think. And I mean, honestly, I do think that's true. That's what I've found. But there's so much to talk about, even just within this statement. What do you think, Swede?
Well, I've tried a lot of different things, and I think that's probably a testament to how often I analyze whether I like how everything's going and decide if I want to continue on or if I want to do something about it. I just am not a sit still person, and I like to the point where I very rarely even read for entertainment. Like if I'm reading something, I want to be learning somehow, and that's just me. Honestly, I think it's a glitch, but I'm like always on the job, always like pushing and driving. And so I ask myself all the time, like, are you okay with how things are going? What do we need to do to make it better? It's always what do we want to do to make it better? So in my life, though, I have come times where it wasn't even that I was trying to make it better. It's that it was getting worse or obviously bad. And so it wasn't me being aggressive or motivated. It was like affirmative action, like survival of the fittest, like, moves. So I have had very little success with changing the people that surround me and a lot more success changing the people that surround me. And,
maybe you want to clarify that one.
Well, we are tigers that have stripes, and it's hard to change us, even though we all know that change is inevitable. And that we are always changing, consciously changing or being forced to change, especially if we feel like we're being fooled to change, is we do it begrudgingly. So changing the people around you is unlikely.
Well,
they're
I
not
think
going
that
to
you
change.
need to clarify, like, in what way you're using this.
Sure, you can't. They're not going to change. So it's probably just better to replace them by change.
Okay, so let's talk about changing the how do you say this? Either switching the people that you hang out with or having the people you hang out with grow.
Yes.
And so do you think it's possible to help the people around you grow by setting an example, and having all boats rise? Like you are the one that brings all the boats up. Do you think that's possible?
I hope it is, because that's very much a part of my motive in life. Like I find myself doing that all the time. I'm always trying to like show everybody a good time or have everybody benefit somehow. Like but that's not something that I premeditated to be a part of this discussion. But yeah, I've always felt like I've always tried to be the rising tide. I've always tried to be the gust of wind that everybody can catch in their sail, really. And maybe that's, I've had that held against me at times, like as though I don't care enough about the people that are in my immediate company. I care too much about the potential to get the more people or the other people, but I really do think that I have tried to help the people around me and help them grow. I'm far from perfect. So that's only in a minimal scale because I've been spending a lot more time just trying to stay above water myself and do whatever improving I can for myself. So, but yeah, whatever capacity that I have, especially when I have momentum, I do think that you can, and I do try, but I don't think that you can rely on that to be the answer. I don't think that you can expect the people around you to grow and have that be your source of growth. You have to also grow as well, and that it's.
But do you believe that you can be the only one who's growing and affect the others? Do you believe that's something that's possible, or do you think that you have to add others in who are doing the same kind of growth as you?
Well, I think that it is possible, but it's not something you should rely on. And I think that you should be trying to add others and improve find the people that have what you want and be around them. So that's probably the best way
So you are saying that you should switch the people around you if you wish to grow in life.
I think that you should expect to switch them more than expect the people around that are currently around you to grow at the pace you desire with you.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't order people to grow, right? You can't be like, I'm growing, so you must grow. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, well, when it comes to getting a fresh start, I don't believe you need to 100% like ditch the people that are refusing to grow with you or don't care to. I don't believe you have to ditch them. I think that you do add in people that are interested in growing with you. But you might have to spend less time with ones that don't.
It's hard to minimize that. You know what? I'm going to say hello to a couple of people in the comments.
I was just going to say, look at all these people here.
So my man Ray's in the house. Ray, thanks for showing up, man. Love you, brother. And Caro agrees with us. And somebody that knows about changing their environment is Leaf down there at the bottom, saying hello from Hawaii. Leaf, we're talking about when you're having issues in your life and you want to make things right and you know that it's time to change. And you profess to the idea that you become the average of the 5 people you hang around most. How important is it to change the 5 people that are around you as far as the way that those as individual people think if they're close with you? Or is it better to just hang around them less and hang around other people more and grow that way? And Leaf's done a lot of moving around. So I think that I can predict what his theory would be.
Yeah, definitely chime in the comments. Now, I think that it's always good to try to be the one who's pushing forward and aiming for growth. But you definitely want people to also set other examples that you can follow. Okay, so here's some things in the comments we should probably read out loud. Stein Brothers. I'm not sure who this is. You do know. It says, my brother just recently started exercising on his stationary bike again, and I helped motivate him by exercising myself. Now, that is a good example of the boats rising together.
Perfect.
It can happen.
That is a perfect example, bro. That is perfect. Yeah, so that's Mike and Mark, man. I met them last weekend, and it's good to see you guys here. I was talking to them about the idea that we have been rolling around with Scooty Wells about getting overland vehicles in Alaska that are accessible to my population, my population, the spinal cord injured and very transportation challenged population, to which one of the Stein brothers is a member. And so it's good to have you guys here. And that's great to know that what a better way, to motivate this than to do it yourself, And so I guess that's something that we should really internalize and probably focus on a second, is that, leading by example is the best way. If you want the other folks around you to improve their lives as well, because you surround yourself by them so much and you want what's best for them for all kinds of good, different reasons. And instead of, barking at them and kicking them in the back and telling them to change, get out in front of them and pave the way and then lead them with you, to help them along. So,
I have a friend in Erie who's a doctor, and somebody I grew up with. He was my neighbor, and he was very, very overweight. And I mean, oftentimes doctors are, because they have to eat horribly because they work horrible hours. And they do know that they shouldn't be overweight, but they just can't help it. It's their lifestyle. But he recently decided he needed to make a change. And he started going to the gym and he started eating right. And he lost like 100 pounds. It was crazy. And not only that, he motivated his wife to also start eating right and working out. And they're doing fantastically. So I do believe that you can motivate others, if they want to be motivated, but you can't expect that you will motivate them.
That is the key, D-Rex. The key to this portion of the 3 crucial questions is that you
put those back up there.
You cannot have expectations for people to do it. Mm-hmm. That's why you have to be willing to excuse them from your company. If look, I love you to death, and our life is so our relationship is so strong that you're one of the 5 people that I surround myself with most. That's good that we are magnetized to each other in that way. However, these are the things that I'm trying to add to my life. You can't be like, you need to add them too because or I'm adding them to our life. You have to be willing to distance yourself and we're shining a light on this specific angle, y'all, because when it comes to getting busy living, sometimes a lot of people are allowing themselves to not get busier because of the people they surround themselves with most. And they feel like those people aren't getting busy living and they can't get busy living without them. And so we want you to have a perspective that allows you to, you're not, it's not like you're leaving the planet. You're not saying goodbye forever. It's just that, in order to get to the other side of the river, you have to, step off the shore. And if they're going to stay on that side of the shore, it's not like you're not coming back, but might take a boat ride.
So yeah, I do think that it's important that you can set an example and you can hope that people will follow, but you can't expect it and you can't demand it. And then you can also add in people that inspire you as well.
Exactly.
Definitely.
They say that our 5 fingers are our best resources as human beings. Like a one-handed man is stronger than an 8-fingered man. Believe that or not. How about that theory? So that's why the right-hand man is such a prominent reputation as far as being significant in humans' lives, right? But that's so when it comes to the 5 fingers, the five people you surround yourself with most, that's kind of like a alliteration. So when it comes to that though, it's not, you can get another hand. You can use your other hand. So even though these are the 5 people that you surround yourself with most, you should always be open-minded about improving your resources, and so that's why I say fight for the right to flight. It's not that you're never coming back, but you can tell them that, look, if you want to stay here, I love you, but if you want to stay here, I'm going, and you can come visit and we'll still see each other, but my life has taken me here. And
yeah,
I'm not saying
oftentimes others don't want you to have a fresh start. They don't want you to go do that thing or go away or change your city or change your life. And it's not because they don't like you. It's because they like you a lot and they want you right there with them.
What a wonderful way of looking at it. Yeah, that's a great way of seeing it. I know that sometimes we have so much problems in our home life, and we run because we have to leave. And then a lot of times we have not enough problems to make us go or to allow us to go. And I don't want to create an environment where we're thinking along the lines of what we don't want. I prefer to think along the lines of what I do want all the time. Because if you're thinking what you don't want, you're living in your fears, and that's a survival technique that human beings aren't designed to prosper in. It dumbs our living in survival mode as a human creature with chemistry in our brains. It decreases the amount of resources that we put towards deep thought and the resources that we put towards our organs, and puts us into survival mode. It redirects some resources towards our muscles and towards fighting and flighting. And when you're starving yourself like that and you're thinking negatively because you're in survival mode all the time, it definitely has an effect on your aura, and you're with yourself more than anybody else. So you have a bigger impact on how you behave than anyone else does. So don't be living afraid. If you want life to happen for you, go get it, and don't be afraid to go after it. You can't wait for the 5 people that surround you most to want what you want and grow with you. You just got to grow and get it.
Okay, but what if you really want a change in life? You really want it all to be brand new because you are done. You like everything's either going bad or it's completely boring. You want a fresh start. What's the difference?
Good question.
Well, it's not a question yet, is it?
I thought you said what if.
Oh, okay.
So I know you have that was a leading question, but that's a good second question to what we just pondered as well. But go ahead.
Okay, so here's the question I'm trying to get out here. What's what's the difference between getting a fresh start and starting anew and running away from your problems? What's the difference?
Ooh, I mean, we're always going to have problems, but we don't always need a fresh start. So having an attitude about your problems, having a stance, having a demeanor towards how you handle problems is always necessary. You always have to have, like, this is how I handle my business, but you don't always. Sometimes you're handling your business and you're doing things the way that you want. You're confident in what you're doing, and even then, you still need a fresh start. I think fresh starts come about at different times where attitude towards problems is ever present.
I think that it's only running away when you're not really dealing with the root causes.
Okay. I see what your question was now.
Yeah. Like you could run away from everything because your life is crappy that day. Is the word crappy a crass word? Because somebody told me that was like gross that I use the word crappy, but I can't help it.
No, as a matter of fact, you use it way more than anybody I know, and I think it's adorable.
It's like my favorite word. Okay, so suppose your life is crappy that day, and you just want to run away. You think that it would feel good just to pick up all your stuff, put it in your car, move to a different city, start over. I think that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing if you feel like you've been thinking about this change for a while and you're not abandoning responsibilities, and that you actually are handling your stress well, but you're just bored in your situation, or you're surrounded by all the wrong people and you need to cut them out of your life. Okay. Then maybe you actually do physically need to pick up and move out of the city and abandon everything. But you got to make sure that you're actually all right. And you know how to handle stress. You know how to be responsible for yourself and not depend on other people for your emotional needs and physical needs. You have to make sure that you're good. And it's not you just cutting things out because you can't handle them. You have to be able to handle stuff.
I could not agree more. And it's beautiful how things have tied together, because fear no fear refers to what happens when you want to get busy living and you have this position where you just described where, what if the problems are so loud that you can't focus on fixing any one of them and you just got to get out of there? It's like, look, I want to be responsible. I want to tie up all these loose ends, but I've got too much chaos, to be able to deal with all of it. Okay. That happens. And
that happened to you. That happened to you several times when you were a young dad, or, like many, many times.
Yeah. I feel pretty confident about my attitude about this. Sometimes it is, you have been fighting, and you're not even losing the fight, but the fight is necessary. And I'm not saying leave everybody behind and never come back or cut all ties. I will condone burning bridges, but sometimes you got to take the fight. And when it's time to do that, some things you want to take with you. First of all, we are afraid of leaving. Like I said already, you can't live in fear, but sometimes we're afraid of leaving because we're afraid of what we're leaving behind. We don't want them to suffer without us. They love us, right? And maybe they need us, so we're afraid of that, so that's a very real fear. And sometimes we're afraid of our ability to make it, another very real fear, and a lot of times we're afraid that we don't even know where to go. Like we screwed it up so bad here. What's to lead us to believe that we're going to go somewhere else and not screw that up too? We've got all these different fears that are all legit, and as a show that wants everybody to feel like there's a part of this for you. There's all kinds of dimensions, and there's a gamut of having your shit togetherness, and all of us, whether we completely have our shit together or we completely have it all splattered all over the walls, we all can get busy living and can get it together. And here's how. Don't be afraid. And like I've said many times in the show, and I'm going to beat this one up, I always go back to this. It hit me as hard as life. Gratitude is the enemy of fear. When all of these things are true, when it's too loud and you're too afraid to go because you fucked it up already and you're afraid you're going to screw it up again, or for whatever reason, you don't have enough this or you're not good enough that, whatever it is, be grateful for what you are. Start with this. Here I am, sizing up my life. I just gave myself all kinds of things to be afraid of. And they're all true. But at least I'm here thinking about this. I'm aware that I want to get busy living and I'm not. And I'm aware that all of these things are potential obstacles or weights holding me back or chaos or noise. Those are all true. But I am aware of it and I'm alive and conscious enough to address it. So then what's your next thing to be grateful for? How about these two opposable thumbs? As long as you have your health, there's a way. There is a way, and Mark, Mike, kick it in the comments if you got something to say about that, because these guys are overcomers. You know what I mean? So let's look at what these guys are talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments here I would actually like to address, and especially because there's 3 in a row that sum up the most important thing is that if you're just running away and you're not handling your stuff, if you're just running away, your problems are going to follow you. And it's funny because right in a row, it was like Pat Ulrich and Lori and Christabella, like right in a row. And there's nothing more true than that. Like, if you're causing your problems through either a lack of understanding or a lack of self-awareness or whatever, that's going to follow you wherever you go. So in that way, the fresh start has to be within yourself.
Absolutely. When you get to that point where you're looking and you're looking for answers, be grateful for the fact that you're conscious enough to look, and then start looking at your other assets. You've got your health. So then don't be afraid to ask for help. That's another thing that people that are at rock bottom are afraid to do. That's why we have so many people that are just stuck in a ditch because they're too proud to ask for help. Look, Christabel says, I learned a lot of things you guys are talking about just by living with Tasha. She helped me see there's so much to life. I just can't stop working for it and changing and challenging myself. That's so true.
Yeah, and then later on, she added this, that I've started over and over and over, and each time has been trials and tribulations, but each has been amazing in their own ways. It's been like finding myself. That's absolutely what it is. If you don't put yourself through the trials and tribulations, you don't find yourself. You find a comfort zone. You find yourself sitting in front of Netflix every night and wishing that your life was like what you see somebody else doing.
Yeah, Ray says, Lori is correct. You can always change your life and start new, but your issues and problems are always there. It's up to you to change your life and not continue putting yourself in the same situations. Scooty Wells, people fear the unknown. They fear uncomfortableness. Others look at these as the recipe for adventure. So,
that is true. That is true. Some people, all sorts of people look at stress in different ways, right? You can be, yeah, exactly. Perspective. You can be stressed out by things not going your way, or you can see it as a challenge.
Precisely where I was, by getting it in front of you. Be grateful for what you have as an opportunity, and then do what it takes. And if it means that you have to say goodbye to people, then then say goodbye, give them a hug, and line up a future date. But be willing to go get what you want in life, and don't let other agendas, because you can't change the people. You can only hope that they'll follow your example or have their own good example to go, and the tide will lift them eventually. You can't always be the only tide that lifts. I've honestly, I've been on a couple different occasions in my life where I have been forced with making a decision like that. Or, you know what? Less often was I forced, and more often did I have that fire that I wanted to progress, and I had that fear that the people that were around me didn't want to progress. And I was more afraid of growing at their pace than I was at going off and screwing things up. And so Mike says, new obstacles that arise are new opportunities to solve problems, and those new skills will come in handy in the future.
That is
so,
true.
D-Rex, can you think of times that where you were faced that? I mean, you've made a major move or two in your day.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say two, but I did make a major move. And, that's for when I was living in Pittsburgh as a young college graduate. And I was not quite sure what I wanted to do with my life. I had graduated from college with a degree that I didn't want to use.
Wow.
I mean, talk about just kind of letting life live me for a couple of years. I was in college and I was like, well, I'm almost through with this degree, so I might as well finish it. And then, I finished it and I didn't want to do anything with that degree. And I was kind of working in a job that really wasn't going to go anywhere for me. And at that point, I had been modeling for, I don't know, 8 years or so. No, about 5 years. And so it was like, that was a skill set that I could use. So I talked to my modeling agency about the scout that was coming from LA, and she seemed interested in having me come out to LA. So I was like, that's what I'll do. That will be my fresh start. Okay. And that seemed like a pretty good deal. Move to LA and get signed by Ford, right? I mean, that's like a dream. Turns out I picked up my whole life, left my boyfriend, who didn't want me to leave, wanted me to stay and just get married and be wifey. But I was like, nope, got to go do something. I didn't want to stay anchored to that pier that didn't seem to be adventurous as adventurous as I was. So I took off for LA. I drove across the country by myself. This was a time where cell phones were expensive to use, so I didn't want to use it very much. So I wasn't talking to anybody the whole ride across the country. And I realized, wow, I actually do like talking to people, because that was lonely and that was hard. So I hurried up and I got over here. And when I got here, things weren't as I expected. It was an adventure, we'll say, because I got here and that modeling agency who said, come on out, they said, I don't know who you talk to, because we only sign 14-year-olds. And I was like 20. I was 21 or something.
What?
Yeah. And we were all baffled. We were all like, what happened? So we're scrambling to find a new agency. But during that time, I picked up a side job. And at that side job, I met people that led me toward my career in music. And it was all a big adventure. I didn't want to be modeling for the rest of my life anyhow. I didn't like it. And especially because modeling here is very competitive, and modeling in Pittsburgh, you can still eat pizza and enjoy your life. Let's just say that. Here you can't do that. And you pretty much have to smoke and have a drug habit in order to stay that thin. And that's all I'll say about that. It's just not that fun of a job, surprisingly.
I'm surprised actually that you stayed at it as long, because my feelings about your sentiments towards it when we were hanging out most often, it was that you did it, but it wasn't your passion. You weren't like,
no, I was never passionate about it, but I liked the money. It's good money.
Sure.
But I wanted to get back into music somehow, but I wouldn't have gotten into music in the way that I did if I hadn't picked up my whole life, moved across the country, not had things go the way they were supposed to go, trials and tribulations, and then finally found my way into working in music, but it just wouldn't have happened without me getting that fresh start. So I do believe in the picking up and leaving everything, but not because you're running away, but because you're seeking something. That really worked out for me. I'd really like to know if anybody here has had an experience with trying to get a fresh start and having a bad experience, or knows somebody who did, because I can't think of a time where I aimed for a fresh start and it ended up being a bad thing, besides cutting my own bangs when I was sad.
Oh, poor girl.
All girls know that. All girls know that story. That's everybody's story.
Well, I had a bad experience.
Okay.
Because I was head over heels in love with my high school sweetheart, and I made a silly move, and because I was chasing the horizon, I was 18 years old, and I wanted to get the hell out of Erie. And my mom told me that she had a car out, and she lived out in Wisconsin. She's like, I have a car. If you come out here, you can use my car to go to work. And I didn't have a car in Erie, and Hards weren't easy to come by back then, and I didn't have anything going for me in Erie, and so I was like, all right, that sounds great. She's like, I live by a big city and you can use a car, and there's plenty of opportunities there, because the economy in Erie in the early 90s was garbage, or mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, hell yeah, big city, car, sign me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I kissed my high school sweetheart goodbye, and I headed for the horizon. And it was the most miserable 30 days of my life. Not even a close second 30 days.
What do you feel like you learned from that experience?
Oh, sheesh. I hate to say, don't trust your mom when she tells you she's going to let you borrow her car all the time.
Don't move because someone offers you a car.
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
maybe that is the takeaway, because that was a very small dangling carrot that I fell for. The reason that it was a bad experience, and it wasn't terrible. It's not like I got put in a trunk or kidnapped or molested or anything like that. But I just ended up going and spending a month in Wisconsin, and it is colder than anything you've ever dreamed of in Wisconsin in February. And trying to find it. So it turned out the big city was 40 miles away, and the car couldn't even make it 40 miles. And it was February, and everything was frozen. And as soon as you walk outside, the wind feels like ice pressed up against your skin. So you're always running outside, and the ground is frozen. So you're always slipping around outside. So it's like this anxiety with being outdoors in Wisconsin in February. It just caught me off guard and knocked me on my ass. And I tucked my tail between my legs, and I told my mom, I'm sick of it. I'm leaving tomorrow. I was like, give me money for a bus ticket. I'm going back to Erie. And I called Heather's mom, and I was like, San, I'm coming home. I'm like, tell Heather to stay home from school tomorrow, but don't tell her I'm coming. Just surprise her. And Sandy's like, yeah, right, sweet. You know how hard it is for me to get that girl to go to school. She's like, she's gonna know something's up if I tell her to stay home. And I was like, just tell her that you have a package getting delivered, you need to sign for or something. And she's like, that'll work. She's like, oh, she'll love me for that. And I'm like, yeah. So she did. She stayed. She kept Heather home from school that day. I got on the bus. I rode 18 hours overnight from Madison, Wisconsin, back to Erie, and conceived Lyric that day. 2 days before my 19th birthday, I arrived in Erie, Pennsylvania, March 22nd, and about 14 weeks later, so I guess we were well into June, we were at the gynecologist, and he's telling us how, he's like, or no, I guess, so it was 12 weeks later. That's what it was. He comes out and tells Heather that she's 14 weeks pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
doing the math.
Did you say 14 weeks, Doc? And he's like, yeah. And Heather saw a side of me she ain't never seen before at that moment. I was like, I've only been home for 12 weeks. And you're 14 weeks pregnant. I'm like, I flipped out, man. I ran outside. I jumped in Heather's mom's car. I had Heather's mom's car. I was going to leave her. I was going to leave her pregnant ass at the doctor's office and take her mom's car. Doctor came out. He's like knocking on the door. I'm like literally on the street, about ready to pull out into Peach Street. Madder than I'd ever been before in my life. And the doctor's not banging on the window. He's like, roll out. He's like, come back inside. You completely misunderstand. And he's like, come back inside. And so I'm like, all right. I park the car, come back inside. And I'm like, you better start talking. So angry. And he's like, listen, he's like, this is the way it works. He's like, your body releases an egg. It doesn't matter if that egg got released today or if it gets released 2 weeks from now. That's when the clock starts. He was like, so if she's 14 weeks pregnant and you conceived 12 weeks ago, that's possible. You didn't, the 2 weeks started before the sex started. And I was like, oh, well, I was like, I love you.
Oh God, I bet she was willing to.
You've never seen relief on a woman's face more clearly.
Really? I would be like, get out.
No, she was like, I didn't, I swear I love you. And I came back in and she's like pleading. She's like, I promise, I swear I would never do that. And I was like, yeah, right. There's scientific evidence. I've never seen a bigger lie in my life. And the doctor's like, no, you got it all wrong.
I don't quite know what this one means, but it says that happened to me, Aaron. I don't know what that means. Maybe you can expand on that. But here, let's read some of these comments. Okay, so Christabella says, I recently moved to a new city, a small city, a new place. It's been hard finding a job in such a small city. Now that is a danger. That's definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Aaron. Okay. Bo's Cave wasn't so clear who that was.
I know.
Okay.
Hello, Boozy.
Okay, so also your friend Leaf here from Hawaii. Left Hawaii for New Orleans, was engaged and moved for her. Ended not very good. Left in 6 months. No job, no fiance. Lost all of my savings. Had to start over from scratch at 43 years old.
Let me tell you, Leaf, my man, I've sat and listened to you tell your story, and you tell it better than Morgan Freeman. And it is, I felt like I was watching a drama, like as he was telling me about it. And
well, then maybe he needs to come on the podcast. Not because he's a
drama queen, but because it was crucial. Like the details of that story are like unbelievable. That dude right there has taken some punches and kept eating lunches, if you will.
I love that. I've never heard that.
Ray said, I did the same thing fresh out of a divorce, and mine lasted only 30 days too. I returned with my tail between my legs and the same broken heart I left with. But I don't regret it. I learned a lot. So you learned it not to regret it. That's the thing. Okay. So we've been trying to dance around this because we did. When we were debating this, there were so many devil's advocate angles that was hard for, for that to be clear, because there's so many different ways of seeing this. Should you leave or should you go, and why or why not, but if there's anything that we can get out of this is what Ray just said. I don't regret it. I learned a lot. And that's why when I was letting folks know what this show is about today, I was talking about, the inevitable. Don't fear change. Embrace it. Pursue it. View it as progress. You can't get better unless you change your current position, right? So if you fear change, then you're fearing getting better. And how dismal is that? How terrible an outlook is it to think that things can't get better? So don't be afraid. Go after it. And if you look at change as a necessary ingredient rather than something that it's a haunting, presence, the attitude, the approach is way different.
I think that you have to look at it as change, and you can't expect like change to always be great right away, right? Change is just change. And if you look at it as that way, like I'm going to have some change in my life, I'm going to learn with these changes. If you have that perspective, then it's more of an adventure. Now, if you look at it like I'm going to move to, I don't know, Sacramento of all places, and I'm going to fix everything. Well, then you're kind of setting yourself up for some disappointments, because life isn't about fixing everything. It's about learning. It's about learning and growing. And that's not always comfortable. That's never comfortable, actually.
Right. And goes back to where we started this whole thing, is the 5 people you surround yourself with most. Learn from them, and just learn when you've learned what you can from them. And it's time to kindly thank them for the lessons and, ask them to, or not ask, but put somebody else there in their place that you can learn more from. And it doesn't have to be sour. In fact, it probably most often isn't going to be sour. Most often you are going to progress in life and replace the people you surround yourself with naturally. But this podcast is about getting busy living, not finding yourself living and being busy. So be mindful of where you are in your life. Decide what you want and don't be afraid to go after it. And if that means going somewhere else, go. If that means staying where you are, but surrounding yourself with others, go. Don't be afraid. That's the thing. Get busy living.
How do you like this one? I like this, Aaron. No matter where I go, there I am. Geographical cures only work if I work on me.
Hell yeah. It does. It starts on the inside. Control what you can. You can't leave where you are and think that your problems aren't going to come with you if your problems are you. And and that starts with the awareness. When I was describing that scenario earlier, being rock bottom and like everything's working against you and you're not sure where to start, and you just start with counting your blessings. Be aware of what you have control over, because if you start identifying things that you don't have any control over, then it's not really a resource that you can even rely on. So yourself, start.
And
with,
you know what? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's it. That was it. Thank you.
I wanted to add that, we're talking about a fresh start in a very giant way. We're talking about like picking up your life and moving to a different city and changing everything. But what about the small fresh starts? Those are the easy ones. That's the low hanging fruit. Go for those first.
Hey, I got a recommendation. Eat more fruit.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I've been doing. Like whenever I find myself in a rut, I'm like, I just got to start eating better. And I usually can correlate that with I've been eating crappy lately. But another person that can speak about fresh starts is next week's guest, y'all. Listen, come back next week. We got a doozy for you. This guy's up in Alaska killing it. It's a coincidence that we keep on bringing Alaska back up, but it's not really, because we have a raffle going on. And if you win, you get to go there. But this guy is
not a coincidence.
Not a coincidence. This guy is going to show you what you can achieve in your life, even at a super young age, if you are willing to start afresh, or at least be aware of your surroundings, identify the things you want to change, and be willing to change them fearlessly. This dude, I cannot wait to meet this guy on camera with everyone. I've decided to save my reaction to him for the live show.
Okay.
I've heard so much about him, and we've texted, but I'm looking forward to actually getting able to make eye contact with him in this venue. So come back next week, guys. Remember, every Thursday at 9 Eastern. So if you're in a place that daylight saving times happen, just know what time. If it's 9 o'clock in New York, then we're on. And come check us out. Please, between now and then, all bullshit aside, copy the link to this show, send it to somebody, recommend it to somebody, tell them that, all you gotta do is subscribe. We're not gonna be able to really take off with this thing until we've got subscribers, and you know what? Speaking of, here we go. Speaking of, you know what? So goes to show how busy we are. I haven't even got a chance to show D-Rex about these little new features, but the point is that speaking of starting with the things you can control. Okay. I know, especially because this is my long-term plan, is this podcast and this nonprofit. I know that there are so many things that I can do better. So before I expect you guys to, love me and spread the word, believe me, I'm aware of our faults and I am dedicated to improving this show. So I am not surprised at the slow progress that I've had personally with this project, because I haven't been able to put all the sunshine and water that it deserves to it because of other things in my life that are equally, if not more important, such as school and my personal health. But as time goes on and I'm able to get a little bit better every day with this show, with how we work together, D-Rex, because that's not always, peas and carrots. And we're going to get better. Just stick with us, guys. Come back each Thursday. Invite a friend to come back. Like, subscribe. Go pick you up a copy of the Help Swede Walk Again fundraising book, The Life and Air of Swedisms book.
There you go. You did it.
So D-Rex, what do you got to say to all these guys that have been showing up, being so cool with us the past couple of weeks?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for showing up and hanging out with us on your Thursday night. We really appreciate it. It's just wonderful chatting with you guys every week. I just also want to thank High Country Adaptive Sports, who's going to be helping us with all sorts of adventures coming up, and just for always being a resource that we can count on. Thank you so much for just enjoying our company, because we enjoy yours.
So you know what, D-Rex, I'm going to say this to Bizzy right before we go, because she asked. She said, "Where do we get the book?" So you go to the hswa.org, okay, and you can just scroll down here, and you'll see the Life and Air of Swedism's book there. It's $25 to reserve a copy. Once we get 2,000 copies, we're going to send some people to Alaska. We're going to ship all the books, and then we're going to get some lucky guy some stem cell treatments. So. Seriously, though, thanks, guys, for coming. Every Thursday, we're always going to be here. Until next week, always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Ha-ha.
But you gotta believe me, ain't nothing coming easy. My